welcome to the last session of the day 2 of the Power of Self-Love virtual retreat. And I'm just so honored that my dear friend and just amazing being, Patrick Holmes, is here with us. Thank you so much for being here. An amazing life journey. Patrick spent the last 8 years remaking his life from the inside out. 8 years ago, he hit his rock bottom. And after landing with a hard thud, he sought a completely different approach to his life. He was self-centered, hurting people, lonely, unhappy, sometimes depressed, and he'd really lost his way. But when the student is ready and begging the universe for answers, the teacher arrives. He found the new approach he was looking for in Eckhart Tolle's work, and then later in A Course in Miracles. These 2 teachers became his constant daily companions and are still. Since 2013, he has prioritized above all else his presence practice, practicing to ignore his ego, quiet his mind, surrender to life, allow, and embrace. Every day, he made it his discipline to be present more, to think less, to judge less, to resist less. Small gaps in his thinking became big wins because he was starting to be the observer of his ego. These small gaps, done at stoplights or one breath at a time, began to fill him with a continual sense of what he would call peace despite circumstance. Today, he is a deeply different person than who he was 8 years ago from the inside out. He feels a greater peace than he ever knew possible, and a sense of love and joy that come from within him, not without. This personal evolution has also resulted in many miracles. He has new friends, new missions, new mentors, new passions, and new dreams, and life has never been as abundant for him. He's grateful every day 100 ways for all the support life grants him. He is passionate and ready to show you the life-changing power of a presence practice. Among other things, he has authored 5 books. He has spoken to more than 1 million people live. That's amazing. Can we just say that again?
Physically in front of me, not on a podcast or a webinar or a teleseminar, but that's been one of the great graces of my life, is that I've gotten to be in the room with 1 million people and share.
That's amazing.
Thanks. I think so.
1 million people have seen you speak in person. Live. Yeah. Wow. You must be really good at that too, with so much practice. I bet you really own that. That's amazing. I'm going to say it one more time. He has spoken to more than 1 million people live as a keynote speaker. Wow. That is so cool.
Thank you, Tassel. That number can go by so fast, but that number tells my life story. It tells a real significant portion of my life story. And so most people just read it. You're the only person that does what I do, which is
really taking it in.
I was born in a town of 17,000 people.
Yeah. And
that's so much bigger than every person in my town.
How many years of speaking is that?
29.
29 years of speaking it live in person.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What an amazing life experience.
I feel that God gives us each a role.
Yeah.
And that role includes benchmarks and special tracks and assignments.
Yeah.
I'm not a big football guy, although I like the game, but when it hit me for my personal revelation, I realized, well, I just have a role on the team. Yeah. For instance, I'm like a wide receiver. I'm not the quarterback. I'm not the running back. I'm not the linebacker. I'm just this one position. God said, you're play that position. Yeah. And then what else I really loved when this revelation came to me was, I don't even know when life will throw me the ball.
Right.
I don't know how often I'll be used in the game. Yeah. But I know that my job is to continually prepare to be ready for when God throws me the ball. Yeah. And do my best to catch it and run every time. So I think God said, and you shall be one of my speakers.
Yeah. Were you naturally comfortable in that role?
Not at all. The first speaking engagement I was headed off to do, I love the way life works. I truly love the way life works, because to me, the way life works is we're pregnated with callings, with strong desires that when I was in my 20s, I thought they were me. I thought, I like speaking. This is my idea. I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah.
Now I think I hear this idea very strongly.
Right.
And I think the universe, God, call it whatever you are. In my life, I'm certain that what it does is it says, where your assignment lies is also your greatest joy. Yeah. But it will require courage.
Yeah.
Because it's not only that you're meant to do it, you're meant to grow from it. So it has to be challenging to you.
Yes.
So speaking was an absolute passion, bliss call for me at 26 years old.
Yeah.
And then I was terrified to do it. And I was the worst speaker I knew. Like I would just like, he's better. They're all natural. Everybody's naturally better than me. So no, it was terrifying when I started.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What got you through those beginning stages of maybe feeling not so great at it and feeling scared? And how did you get through that? Yeah.
Courage.
Yeah.
I was developing a fantastic I needed to develop a fantastic relationship with failing.
Oh my gosh. I want to write that down. I needed to develop a fantastic relationship with failing. I needed to develop. I love it. What do you mean by that?
Well,
I can guess.
What I learned in life is that failure is both necessary. It's necessary and it's good for me.
Yeah.
But so it astounds me because I viscerally can remember when I used to not want failure. All my fear was based on I don't want to fail.
Right.
In front of people.
Yes, publicly.
But I don't have that fear anymore.
Yeah.
Now I just think I will fail on my way to doing what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Failure will feed me. It will inform me. Yes. There's no sense in trying to avoid it.
Yes.
I embrace it.
Yes.
I'm not after it. I'm not aiming for failure. But that's how things grow. So in terms of self-love, I feel more self-loving knowing like, Patrick, you have permission to fail.
Yeah.
It's your right. It's your privilege to fail.
Yes.
Fail in this life.
Yes.
You deserve it.
Oh, I love it. You deserve it. That is so great.
Yeah, you deserve to be in the arena where everybody makes mistakes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no forward momentum without getting out there and seeing what happens, right? No matter what happens, you've made something happen.
I think it's the unloving voice.
Yeah.
That says that whispers to you or yells at you or berates you and says, stay in the bleachers.
Yes.
Where you belong, where you're confined to. And it's the self-loving voice that says, get into the arena.
Yes.
Get knocked around a little bit.
What's the worst that could happen?
Rise.
Get in the game.
Yeah.
Get in the game. Yeah.
I promise you'll have more fun.
Yes. Yes. I want to just share with everyone. I put together this retreat and I asked a lot of people to be involved, and I received a lot of no's, and I did receive a lot of yeses as well. And I was kind of like licking my wounds a little bit. And I reached out to you and I said, Patrick, I know you've published all these books, and I'm just curious, did you receive some no's when you were, shopping around your book? And you very generously shared your story with me about that Yeah, I received a lot of rejections, but I just kept trying. And I just feel that's part of what we're talking about here is.
So yeah, just to bring that to life.
Yeah.
This is the best book I've ever written.
Man One Bank Zero. Oh, yeah.
But I tell you, it's the best book I've ever written. And the self-loving thing that I did is I rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it for 10 years.
Wow.
Maybe 12, maybe 12.
Wow.
Because every time I'd write it, I would get to the end and know it wasn't good yet.
Yeah.
And then, there's always two different voices to listen to in your head.
Yeah.
And one tells you that you're shitty and that you're undeserving.
Yeah.
That wonderful things only happen to other people.
Yeah.
And you're left out, you're excluded from that group of people. And the other voice says, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's there for you. Yeah. Like, it's amazing. You're going to be incredible. Oprah's going to love you.
Yes.
And that's really the competition, one of the self-love competitions is which voice are you going to listen to on every given day?
Oh, I love that. Yes. Which voice?
The voice that told me this book is great, this book could be great, is the one that I found my way to write from as often as I could. Yeah. So, but I want to tell you that along those 12 years of working on this about once a year for 2 or 3 months, I mean, just countless unpaid hours, countless unpaid hours, indescribable amounts of unpaid hours. Yeah. Agents would come around and they would go bananas for the book. They would say it's the best book they've ever had their hands on in their life. And one of those agents was the agent that most people won't remember this, but there's a ginormous publishing sensation made into a movie called He's Just Not That Into You.
Oh, yeah.
So she became my agent.
Oh.
And she said, this is unbelievable property. Well, with the 3 agents that had their hands on this, each time thinking it was the best property they ever had, they all failed to be able to get it published. So it received 120 or so of rejections from the very best in the publishing world, from everybody who was the best in the publishing world said, we don't want Patrick's book.
Yeah.
And so in the end, I think it was entirely incredibly self-loving of me to publish it on my own.
Yeah.
And the reward of doing so, it's self-published. And the reward of doing that is, one, I got to sell it all around the world when I was touring the show. And it felt incredible and wonderful to finish my show on stage and then watch people line up to buy my book. It's the reward has been, it's been incredible that each person that reads the book finds a way to say, oh my God, I love your book. So to me, it takes me to the heart of one of my experiences with self-love is, what are you really doing it for?
Right.
Because I find it's more self-loving to do things for the fulfillment of my soul than it is to do things for external validation. Or for money.
Yes.
So I really thank my younger self and my current self because I lead to feed my soul.
Yeah.
And I think it's very loving.
Yes.
I think those that don't are going to hit a wall. As a matter of fact, I have a coaching company called Bliss Champions, and we cater directly to CEOs and presidents who have companies where their revenues range from 10 million on up. So they're wildly successful people materially.
Right.
But they come to us because in their schemata, they weren't feeding their soul.
Right.
They were feeding just the goal of increasing their wealth.
Yeah.
And they hit a wall, and that wall is called something's missing.
Right. Yes.
I've got it all. The biggest house of anybody I know, the greatest cars of anybody I know, the most money of anybody I know.
Yeah.
And something is deeply missing. Yeah. So that's where their self-love journey starts. Their self-love journey starts with, well, what would bring you joy? Yeah. And that's a very self-loving question. Yeah. What would bring you joy?
Yeah.
And what would stop you? from choosing to do the most joyful thing you can every day of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the answer for a lot of people when they answer that question? What would stop you?
It's always a limiting belief.
Yeah.
But the answers sound like, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I'll do it later in sequence. I'll do it after this, after I attain this, once I set up this, once I clear this obstacle. Everybody's got a delay strategy for when they'll dive into what is truly joyful and soulful for them.
Yes.
Everybody's sequencing this out into the future. Well, the future will continually sequence that. It will continue. It will continually be put further out into the future.
Yeah.
So for that reason, and then for the reason that your joy often doesn't make rational sense in a Western world. Okay, it doesn't. It doesn't make rational sense to spend 12 years writing a book that at the point to keep writing it at the point it's gotten over 100 rejections from the 3 best agents in the country.
Yeah.
What makes sense is to say, that's not a good book. That's not worthwhile. It'll never make you a dime. Quit.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So self-love often appears to be irrational because the material Western world is not aiming for self-love.
Yes.
It's aiming for consume shit.
Yeah, metrics,
consume,
material
buy,
success.
Find your happiness outside of yourself, outside of yourself.
Yes.
See what way you can get some validation.
Yeah.
That's probably at the heart to me of self-love is something in all of us.
Yeah.
One of the most deeply human things in all of us is to want to be seen.
Yeah.
And to want what feels like validation. It's glorious, right? It's glorious to be seen by somebody else.
Yeah.
But there's 2 things. There's 2 ways to get that. One is to go externally and try and get people to validate you.
Yeah.
And the other was my path that finally woke me up and showed me where real peace, consistent joy, and consistent love were. And that was to turn inside myself and start auditing the voice in my head and evaluating and listening. What do I think of this thinker? Who is this thinker? How would I describe this thinker?
Yeah.
And as I did that for a year, and I concluded this thinker in my head is a very shitty entity. It judges, it creates worry, it never shuts up, it's repetitive, it's annoying, it's vindictive, it's jealous, it's envious, and it's not me.
Yeah.
And the reason why I knew it wasn't me is because I could observe it. And if you can observe something, it's not you. And then that was my awakening, because once I was onto that all of us have a shitty roommate in our head that tries to fool us into thinking that's who we are. That when we say, wait a minute, I'm not you. I don't identify with your way of being or thinking. And I'm going to move you to the garage.
Get out of my bedroom.
Then this is where I didn't even, once I had that shitty roommate at a distance in my head, I didn't even need a concept called self-love. Because I wasn't having a relationship with myself anymore. Now I was having a relationship with life. And as it was happening on a moment-to-moment basis with me, and life was very loving and very beautiful and very kind. Now, would I say, compared to what I experience now in life, I would say is an awakened experience of life. Previous asleep me, when I look back at previous asleep me really, really, really needed a better relationship with himself. And would have called this state self-love. But from this place where I am, I think you don't spend much time thinking about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just sort of conceptualizing it in my head. You don't spend as much time thinking about yourself because you're one with life. You are the presence.
Yeah, it's quieter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is just quieter from the inside out.
Yeah.
There aren't thoughts. You know what it is? There's just a preponderance of less thoughts about I am good or I am bad.
Yeah.
That is good or that is bad.
Right.
Or I don't like being treated that way, or I do like being, there's just so much less thinking. So a version, let's just call it a version of self-love would be that if everybody could experience their brain turned off, the thinking brain just turned off.
Yeah.
Because what the Buddha wanted people to understand was just he didn't want to define enlightenment. And he never did. He didn't want to tell you, oh, it's fantastic. There's fireworks and there's miracles and there's healing. The Buddha just said enlightenment is the absence of suffering. So the Buddhist teachings were to just lead you on a predictable path to let's clear out the suffering and then let you experience life without suffering.
Yeah.
And what's causing 99% of all the suffering? Your thoughts about life.
Yeah. Right. So true. So true.
So what I experienced on the other side of the end of suffering, self-induced, is a spacious and always spacious, ever present, peaceful, easily joyful, everywhere you look, wellspring of love that I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I feel exuberant about a presence practice as one doorway into self-love.
For everyone listening who may not have a presence practice, could you sort of offer maybe a sort of entryway into a presence practice?
Yeah. One entryway into a presence practice, this is one I usually never talk about, would be to see what happens if you took up the challenge and said, I will not indulge one single complaint about anything for the next X amount of days, internally or externally. Because if you could be vigilant enough to be listening to yourself, to hear yourself complain, to put a heightened alert on when am I complaining?
Yeah.
For instance, there's all kinds of things at any moment in time any of us could complain about, right? I don't like what I just saw on the news.
Yeah.
My trash can is missing. Somebody stole this from me. Yeah. I don't like the way they talk to me. Gosh, that restaurant server was terrible. It's too loud in here. I shouldn't get tickets. I can't stand this. I can't stand that there are people that put tickets. My rent is too high. My bank account is too low. So there's an endless stream.
Yeah.
Complaints are merely judgments.
Yeah.
They happen to be negative judgments, right? And the negative judgments are what cause suffering.
Yeah.
The ego, a presence practice's primary goal is to end all suffering.
Yeah.
Except the physical, except whatever pain comes from physical hurt.
Yeah.
So when you go, okay, well, if to be present is to end all self-induced mental suffering, you have to get to know what causes the suffering. What kind of thoughts cause me to suffer? And the ego has one root, one single root for you bring me any problem anybody has. Any problem anybody has. And it has one single root. And it's rooted out by that one single root, if you know where to look. Your ego is in opposition to what is.
Yeah.
Your ego has taken a position against reality, against the totality of the universe at its current point of expression, and said, shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It's got a God complex. And I had myself a giant laugh the day I had myself what's beautiful about enlightening moments. Okay. What's beautiful about enlightening moments is that most of them come with a hearty laugh, with one of the biggest laughs you've ever had. And that shows you like, wow, I really broke free from a concept that I used to absolutely believe and now I think is absurd. So for instance, what I've been explaining is that the primary root of the ego is always, it shouldn't be that way. It is a God complex.
Yeah.
But the day I realized it was a God complex is because I had some minor complaint against reality. And it was probably my food should have been delivered to the table sooner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's an extraordinary sentence. It's an amazing posture. It's philosophically incredible because you could take it at face value and say, oh, yes, the service should be faster. Or you could take it philosophically and say, really? How interesting. So in some manner, at some point on the cosmic timeline, there was a big bang. And then planets evolved. And then fish crawled out of the sea. I'm not even endorsing some of the stuff, right? But there's a giant cosmic story that's unfolding. But one thing you're sure of is in the giant unfolding of the most incredible plot any of us have ever beheld, or perhaps the greatest fiction ever told, your food should have come to the table sooner. Of that, we can be sure.
Yeah.
Of that, we can be sure. It's absurd. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the elimination of the shouldness of my ego.
Yeah.
That alone would probably eliminate, fully embraced, fully comprehended, fully embodied, would probably wake anybody up.
Yeah.
To at least one, there are probably multiple levels of enlightenment, but it would at least bring someone to a level of enlightenment so wonderful that their whole life would seem miraculous by comparison to the previous life. Your ego loves to complain. Your ego feels that this one blew my mind too. It's absolutely it's the same sentence, but it was the first way I experienced it as my own personal revelation.
Yeah.
There's no requirement to have an opinion on anything. But until I knew that, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And your ego acts as if it's your job to have an opinion on everything. It's your job to take the totality, the wholeness of reality, and segment it into good, bad, like, don't like, don't like. And that is literally the sound of the ego causing you suffering. So what is your life like? What do you experience if that sound is gone? And that's the question I would just invite everybody to experiment with. If you went 30 days or 7 days of your life and said, I will judge nothing. I will judge nothing as good or bad. I will call everything just what is. Or perhaps take the posture, I don't ultimately know what's good. I don't ultimately know what's bad.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have misjudged experiences in my past as bad and they turned out to be good.
Right.
I've misjudged experiences in my past that I thought were good, but turned out to be bad.
Yes, right.
So perhaps I will enter a new and wonderful world when I just stop judging everything.
Yeah.
So that's one doorway into a presence practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting go of all judgment. What a great practice to just even try, as you say, for 30 days to just let go of all judgment about everything in your life. That seems really exciting. That seems like freedom. I've been sharing a lot about one of my favorite affirmations is I trust life. And to me, that kind of sums up a lot of what you're saying is just letting go of all of the judgment, just letting it all go. My smaller self does not know what is good or bad, as you said. I love that so much. It just feels like freedom. It feels like the end of suffering.
That is one of the ways, absolutely, to end suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another thing that came to me as a technique, look, the super simple one that I usually start with, but I don't want to spend time on today.
Yeah.
But probably the greatest tool we've all been given to be present is one conscious breath. Mm-hmm. And all master teachers, all enlightened beings have come and offered us that tool, from the Buddha to the Christ to Maitreya. So you'll find it in all their teachings, this one conscious breath. And the answer why is because it turns off your thinking mind.
Yeah.
And so a presence practice's goal is to always to turn off your thinking, to turn off the incessant auto thinking mind that's on autopilot out of your control. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As Eckhart Tolle perfectly puts it, thinking isn't the problem. The problem is most people are not thinking. Most people are being thought by their thoughts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most people are not thinking their own thoughts. Mm-hmm. So what I've discovered is if you become so present with the here and now and you take away the screen of judgment, of past, of present, and you're left with this really just this blank observance, then you will be able to hear in that silent spaciousness your real thoughts, your God thoughts, your soul thoughts, your directive thoughts. Yeah. And they are of a profoundly different quality. Yeah. This is when you are operating from a genius you never knew you had. Yeah. You're saying things you never knew that you knew. Yeah. You're receiving things that are perfectly prescriptive. Mm-hmm. So one way I tried to explain this before I even awakened, but I love to I say it because I'm self-delighting in the fact that consciousness is awakening in all of us at its own pace. It's like a force that's pushing up through us our whole lives. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how much participation we have in the process. I don't know how much conscious participation, or if it's just bubbles to the surface on its own time. I don't know. Yeah. But I am delighting in the memory that before I awakened, when I was deeply asleep, mm-hmm. there was still enough consciousness to have gone to give a presentation to college students. And what I did is I set up a boombox on the table, and I walked out and I played really loud music from that boombox. And then I just quietly stood in front of the audience and I said, what do you hear? And they heard the boom, whatever, AC/DC. And then I just turned down the volume and I kept asking, what do you hear? What do you hear? And when the volume of the boombox got low enough, they heard the tape recorder I hid behind it. There was the quiet whisper that was the great wisdom, the great intuition, the knowledge they really needed to navigate their life. Yeah. The ego is the loudest voice on the planet. Yeah. And it's talking a bunch of shit all day long. Yeah. So today I asked myself the question before I came into this conversation. One of my favorite ways to define anything is to say, well, what's the opposite? Mm-hmm. For instance, I want people to know what presence is. Yeah. So I think the best way to lead someone to what presence is to say, well, let's look at what being unpresent is. Yeah. So what's being unpresent? Mm-hmm. Well, if I were here and I was tripping out on yesterday, or on my divorce, or on my whatever's if I'm only half here, Another way to put it is, if we call this the past, right? It's all recorded right here. Mm-hmm. I'm not present. I'm not very present. I can see you a little, just enough to fake a good conversation with you, Tassel.
Yeah.
Mostly, I'm in a hallucination about the past. It is literally a screen over my reality.
Yeah.
So I am unpresent to reality because I am indulging a hallucination of the past. And we know for certain it's a hallucination. Why? Mm-hmm. Because you can't go get it. You can't go touch it. You can't show it to anybody else. And even science would tell you, hey, I had a fight yesterday. Where is it? And science will tell you, it's your brain fires up right here.
Yeah.
Your brain creates a mental hallucination by firing right here. There is no past. Mm-hmm. There is no past. Mm-hmm. But there are hallucinations of it.
Yeah.
By the same token.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not a guy that hallucinates about the past a lot. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm a person that hallucinates about the scary future a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Both of them are screens over the reality of the present moment. Mm-hmm. That's what being unpresent is. And I like to point out to people that if you walk into a living room and there are two people sitting on your couch and they're both spaced out, how do you know which one's on drugs and which one's tripping on the past? Mm-hmm. Because they look the same. Does that make sense? Have you ever walked in a room and someone's just tripping out? And if you said, why? Is I'm thinking about my divorce. And then they come back and they're present again.
Yeah.
But what if you're the same person? You're like, they're tripping on their divorce. Like, no, I'm tripping on a drug. That's how powerful the past and the future are as actual hallucinations. Yeah. That's what made sense to me out of the sentence I first heard Tolle say, which was, most people are rarely ever in their present life. Yeah. Most people don't live very often in real life. Yeah. Kids have a phrase these days. You know what it is? IRL. See you in IRL. See you in real life.
Oh, okay.
Boy, I wish we all did that all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful promises, and a presence practice comes with many tremendous promises. I could name them all. Yeah. And so I took them on faith. I needed to. Mm-hmm. So I took it on faith that a presence practice would actually physically de-age me. I took it on faith that a presence practice would eliminate all suffering, 99% of all my suffering. I took it on faith that a presence practice would finally be the only thing that led me out of bouts of deep loneliness, so painful I wanted to kill myself. Yeah. I took it that a presence practice would actually fill my life with miracles of abundance where I actually made more money. I took it on faith that being somehow that just if I was just more present, that the universe would show up for me and grant my wishes with less effort. Yeah. I took it all on faith. I took it on faith that if I thought less, I would become more genius. Mm-hmm. And it's not me becoming more genius, right? Mm-hmm. I would experience more of a genius coming through me.
Yes.
I took them all on faith with an absolute diligence, just a diligence that said, well, I'll find out.
Yes.
Every promise fulfilled. Yeah. Every promise fulfilled. But when I first heard it, it's a great way to present it. Don't believe me. Become your own evidence.
Yes.
I'm my own evidence that in one single sentence, if you spend more time in your real life mm-hmm. with these screens removed mm-hmm. and an absence of judgment, you'll discover the present moment is fantastically miraculous, is fantastically beautiful, and comes with this unbelievable side effect. For some reason, you discover that you are the source of peace. You are the source of joy. You are the source of love for no reason and despite any circumstances. And I truly don't call that self-love, because at that place, truly, there's a lack of concern for self. But it's so self-loving. But then what flows from that place of peace, love, and joy are what people call self-loving behaviors. I have boundaries.
Yeah.
So because I am love. If the ego tries to say something unloving about me, because I am love, I don't indulge that thought. Yeah. I can't imagine indulging that thought about myself. But nor do I brag about myself. And if my ego tries to brag to me about me, which it loves to do, I don't indulge that thought either. Because a thoughtless life is better than a thoughtful life.
And I'm just curious to ask you, and everything you've shared has been really powerful. As you are in this amazing presence practice throughout your day, and the thoughts are not sort of filling the space as much, you're experiencing just pure connection to the present and your five senses and your guidance flowing through you. Is that the experience?
What's life like?
Yeah. What's life like? What are you experiencing?
It's really, I'm going to try two different ways. I've never been asked to describe what it's like, but I know the absence of everything because I knew what life was like with all these other things.
Yeah.
So life is incredible because I have an absence of anxiety. I have an absence of stress. I have an absence of concern. I have an absence of worry. I have an absence of fear. The first 2 decades of my career as a writer, a speaker, and a comedic performer were all built, and I'm so grateful to my younger self. It was the only way I was going to get done. They were all built by courage because I was so afraid of everything I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I was so afraid of comedy. I was so afraid of speaking. I was so afraid of writing.
Yeah.
I was so afraid of money. I grew up in a trailer house with a single parent. Holiday meals were delivered to our home. Christmas presents were sparse. So I was also so afraid of money. So now life with an absence of fear is unbelievable. And the absence of fear on the other side is, well, I would say that the absence of fear feels like you walk around knowing. Well, you do. I walk around knowing that I am as supported as every single thing I see growing in my yard.
Wow.
I'm of the same source.
Yeah.
Whatever is feeding them to constantly grow and blossom and bloom is doing the same thing for me.
Yes.
So where I used to use effort and the mind to try and strategically figure out a way to pay my bills, I don't do that anymore at all. I give no thinking to how should I make a living. And I replaced it with how do I have a wonderful relationship with this moment? What is required? What might be required in me to have a wonderful relationship with this instant moment, with this present moment, or as Course in Miracles says, this holy instant. I find it remarkable that Eckhart Tolle's message is there is power in the now. And I find it remarkable in a text that was written 50, 60 years before Eckhart, a channeled work called A Course in Miracles, that it says over and over, there is a holy instant or from which all miracles flow.
Mm.
The holy instant. So it's sort of like living your life in a 3-second time frame.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to take care of. That's what my life is like now. All I think is I have to take care of this 3-second time frame.
Mm-hmm.
The past doesn't exist. The future, if the future always comes as a 3-second increment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It always arrives in this.
Right.
Right? The future always arrives as the now.
Yeah.
And the only thing I know about the future is that it is being created absolutely, entirely based upon how I currently feel.
Mm-hmm.
If I currently feel shitty, I have planted a seed for the future to arrive in the present moment with some shittiness.
Mm.
If in the present moment I plant a seed of peace and love and joy and gratitude, the future will arrive in the present moment as additional reasons for peace, love, joy, and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think my kids were my most important relationship. I've always loved being a father.
Yeah.
I used to think that my marriage might be as important or more important than my relationship with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised Catholic, but I never ended up thinking.
Yasha, this is two ways. Look,
Oh,
Yasha.
let me mute this.
It's a dot.
Okay, sorry.
But I never ended up thinking that, just as a authentic thing. I never understood when people put God above all else, because I didn't have that kind of relationship with a God.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when I discovered, as the miracles unfolded from being simply more present, but simply was the hardest thing I ever achieved in my life. What took the most diligence and practice of anything I've ever done was to take 88,000 incessant, unconscious, rat on a fucking spinning wheel thoughts a day.
Yeah.
that I thought was me and was unchanged. I didn't ever even question for 48 years of my life, maybe 46 years of my life, and say, I'm going to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
That's the hardest addiction you'll ever stop.
Yes.
Because you're addicted to thinking.
Yes.
And addiction means you recognize your thoughts something isn't good for you, but you do it anyway.
Yeah. Right.
So anyhow.
Yep.
When I diligently applied myself on an hour-to-hour basis on a presence practice, and it doesn't mean that's how long it takes to wake up or what it takes to wake up, but that's what it took me to wake up. Was constantly, I literally, as soon as I saw the first benefits, I said, because I knew it was true, the most important relationship I have in my life is my relationship with the present moment. And if I take care of that relationship, every single thing takes care of itself in my life. What I'm literally testifying from my personal experience, and again, be your own evidence, is I don't give any consideration anymore to how to make a living. I make more money than I've ever made in my life. Isn't that miraculous?
Yes.
Because I stopped taking care of that which was born out of a future worry.
Yes. Yes.
The motivation to I should earn a living is a fear-based motivation.
Yeah.
Because it's constructed on the fear, if I don't really do something here, I will be homeless.
Yeah.
So the absence of that is my only job is to have a good relationship with whatever is happening in this present moment. And I can't quote Jesus well, but I've seen the quote, take care of now and the future will take care of itself.
I love it. I've been making many notes about.
But I would say that the way I feel when I walk around on a day-to-day basis is just grateful.
Yeah.
The primary state is gratitude. Everything feels wonderful. Sitting on a couch feels wonderful. Looking at the fireplace feels wonderful. Like, oh, look at that fireplace. Looking out my window and seeing the birds in the yard feels wonderful. Receiving a call from a friend, receiving an invitation to do this, doing this.
Yeah.
It's just, life is wonderful on a moment-to-moment basis. But what I would include is I have not all kinds, because a presence practice reduces the amount of circumstances that can be perceived as a problem. It does not eliminate them. But so I have circumstances that other people would cause other people concern, worry, stress, or anxiety. But a presence practice leads you to a place where external circumstances no longer cause you any of those feelings. You are just the observer of those circumstances arising. For instance, it could be an IRS audit. You could get an IRS audit. Well, the unpresent mind will stir up tons of fears about an IRS audit. The present mind just observes and does not judge and says, that is what's here. And wrap your mind around this, can even embrace and enjoy the activity that prompts.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your presence practice. It's really exciting. I took so many notes and I want to put a lot of this into practice. I'd like to start with your amazing, just release the complaints and the judgments. That's really beautiful. And I want to share some comments here. Crystal really wanted to know, what was that quote again about failing? And then someone else kindly wrote it in. I developed a fantastic relationship with failure. Veronica says, Patrick, your energy is so pure and beautiful. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah. Nicole says, this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much.
I'm glad, Nicole.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Can I squeeze in one more tip?
Yeah.
What you read to introduce me mentioned it. I use stoplights and stop signs to anchor my presence practice. So if someone drives a little bit every day, this one's really, really good.
Awesome.
And it will show you where you're at in presence. So when I started my presence practice, I was horrible at being present. I was so horrible. But what I said is, I'm going to say stop signs means stop thinking while you're at the light.
Okay.
And red lights means stop thinking until the light turns green. Now that is usually a 30 to 60 second interval. When I began my practice, at least for a year, I'm probably giving myself too much. I could not sit at a stop sign or a stoplight and not think. I would try, and within 15 seconds, my mind would start talking things like my to-do list, what I was doing, my complaints, my problems, my arguments. And that showed me the level of the addiction to this incessant asshole in my mind. But what's remarkable is that at the stop signs, what I kept saying is, that's okay. Just return to your breath. Just see if you can, this is how I would say it to myself, see if you can just be a guy waiting for the light to turn green and being fully present to the intersection.
Yeah.
And at best, watch your breath. If you want something like watch your breath while you sit there.
Yeah.
And the most encouraging thing I could tell you is whenever you achieve even one fully conscious breath, the universe during that 60-second interval runs over to you like a gas station attendant because you've stopped the car for one moment, and it puts in the fuel of pure miracles and consciousness, and it pumps that fuel into your life during those 30 to 60 seconds. And that is the most potent fuel you'll ever experience in your life. You cannot underestimate the power of even 30 or 60 seconds of being present. Good job, Chris. Happy to hear it. Yeah. Awesome. Tassel, I love you so much. This series is an amazing, incredible gift.
Oh, thank you.
I do 100% think that self-love in the way that it's being taught by everybody on here is exactly as you described. It's miraculous. It's potent. It's the best topic on earth. So I just deeply bow to you for being such an articulate voice of self-love and for being the world's best producer and promoter of self-love in this moment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Patrick. It's an honor to know you and to sit with you and to be friends. And I'm just really grateful to be on the planet with you. And everything you shared today was really super helpful. Just the path to peace, and all the good things and abundance and being in the flow and the end of suffering. What more could we ask for?
I don't know what else someone could want.
Yeah, and just being in joy, and you're a living embodiment of this. So it's miraculous to know you and to see you're walking your talk. You're doing it. So it's just really inspirational. And everyone loved it. So many comments here. Yeah, this was a really rich teaching we received from you. So thank you.
The greatest teachers I know of it are Eckhart Tolle, either Power of Now or A New Earth. Either book will get you home. So for me, it was Power of Now. For other people, it's A New Earth. Thich Nhat Hanh, anything Thich Nhat Hanh writes, the Buddhist monk, he's a phenomenal teacher of presence. Michael Singer is teaching presence. And I love Michael Singer's work.
I love him too. Michael A. Singer.
Yeah, Michael A. Singer, Surrendered Life.
Yes.
Untethered Soul.
Yes. He's a beautiful soul. Yeah, I love, I can't remember the title of the book, but the one where he talks about his life path and how he just kept following the guidance. Is that Surrender? Okay.
Surrendered Life.
That was that changed my life, that book.
Yeah. Because what he's articulating, a surrendered life means I'm not going to judge things as good or bad.
Yeah. And I'm just
going to see what life puts in front of me and have a good relationship with it. Right.
Yes.
I wear a bracelet, and on my bracelet, my favorite words for presence are being, because presence is the opposite of doing.
Yeah.
Allowance, which means I'm going to allow life to be as it is. I'm not going to let my ego judge and reject everything. Yeah. Gratitude, which is, again, a radical form of I love everything that's happening to me. Yeah. But the greatest gratitude includes everything that's happening. Gratitude for everything that's happening to you.
Yeah.
And bliss, because we should all follow our bliss.
Yes, absolutely. What a beautiful way to live.
Thank you, Tassel, so much for the honor of the interview.
Oh my gosh, this was an epic interview. Just everything.
As I'm sure they all are. I've heard a few in there.
Every interview. It's amazing how everyone has had such a unique path, and then the gifts and wisdom that come through everyone's own unique path. Each person has just shared their treasures, their hard-earned treasures from their life journey, and often, from their suffering, and how they found ways to reduce their suffering, basically. So it's been just so amazing, because there's been 16 speakers so far, and several of them have been homeless, have come from very, very challenging physical circumstances, every type of circumstance imaginable, and all have found their way through to peace and love and presence, as you have. And so it's it's amazing to hear people's stories and the treasures that come through their life experiences. It's so beautiful. Really, it's just, it's beautiful. It's odd.
Can we end on something you wrote?
Sure.
Okay, one second. I think I can find it really quick. But maybe fill a little time while I look for it, please.
Oh, sure. Take your time. And I'll just share another lovely comment about Patrick's sharing. Deborah, who's one of my dearest friends for 30 years, Patrick framed interactions so brilliantly. The ego gets in the way of everything. Take off the combat boots and throw away the ego and accept. Yeah. I love how
it's really nice
what came through. So this is just great.
Well, I would really love to find this because you wrote it on your Facebook once. Let me just see. It was something you channeled, and it was entirely, from my perspective, spoke to the power of being present. But
was it recent?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't recent.
But I will give myself credit for being well organized, but not perfectly organized. Because I can't think of the key word to search it under. I'm sorry. I really wanted to, and I thought, it might be right here, but
maybe I could share something that I wrote that I think is a bit about this.
Please do. Your writing is so wonderful.
I wrote this just a few days ago, and I hope it resonates. If it doesn't, no worries. I wrote, "Good day, dear lovely beings. I love you. I'm going into much deeper initiation and alignment with the peace and joy and love that I am within myself, as I believe we all are. In my external world, all is swirling and whirling and exciting and challenging, painful, uncomfortable at times, all sorts of invitations to be outside of my comfort zone in my personal and professional experiences, so much juicy expansion. And throughout all of this, I live within myself in this safe, sacred, divine place inside of me, watching, observing everything in my external world, almost as a movie, something I'm involved in, but somewhat apart from it as well. I'm a being in this world, but not of it. I'm an infinite, eternal creature, a spark of the creator herself. I'm all that is, the wind, the sun, the moon, all of life herself. I know who I am. I know who I serve. I know what my purpose is here on the planet. I am peace, joy, and love. I am all that is. I love you."
Yes. Exactly. Yes. And I think, that is presence practice leads you to believe that it takes you from out of thinking that you're a character in the movie, caught up in all the drama, to now you're a person in the front row eating popcorn, watching your movie. And it doesn't matter what scene, it's all your movie. So you like the ups, you like the downs. So you're just watching the movie of the character of your life.
Yes, I get this sense that the creator, who we all are, we're all parts of the creator, just loves to experience itself in all forms, in every possible situation and emotion, and it just loves the theater of it all.
Yes.
Right? The ups and the downs and the twists and the turns and the dark nights of the souls and the joys and all of it. It's so rich. It's the richness that the creator is after experiencing.
Yes, 100%. As if the creator said, I want to experience every possibility.
Yes.
Every possibility.
The depths and the darkness and the despair, and then the heights and wow, what a ride.
Yeah.
What a ride we're on. What an adventure. Adventure is one of my favorite words to describe life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that puts it, and that moves us all. When we move to that perspective, we are taking life less serious.
Yes,
Life
exactly.
a little less serious.
I love that orientation, to just take everything less seriously.
Yeah.
Just to giggle.
Which in and of itself removes half the anxiety.
Yes.
Like, you know what? It's a giant cosmic play.
Yeah.
The other day it hit me. I feel like things hit me too, right? Like that there are insights that I think, I think that's a little message. And the one I got that I really love was, I think God, whatever that is, I really don't know, is the greatest fiction writer of all time. Like the greatest fiction writer. A fiction writer so great that great novelists in our 3D realm say, I'm going to have 12 characters in my book. But this novelist said, I'm going to have 8 billion on this planet and zillions in the world. And I'm going to write them all in incredible drama. Tassel's drama is going to be amazing. Patrick's drama is going to be amazing. Crystal's drama is going to be amazing. And he's writing the whole plot. And my book's going to last for a trillion years.
You're right.
Oh my God. Wake up and go, wait a minute. So I'm not the author. The author's got a master plot going here. I don't know if my food should have arrived soon.
Right? Who knows?
Right? Because maybe if it arrived sooner, I would have left sooner, and then I would have gotten killed by a car, and that would have destroyed the plot line to save the world.
Yes. I think it's in the Law of One. There's a beautiful sentence. The universe begins and ends in mystery. We don't know exactly what's going on. And that makes it exciting. It's an adventure. Chris, you like the Law of One. Yes, me too. It's really deep. Well, this was so much fun. Patrick, every time I talk to you, it's so expanding and joyful, and your beautiful life force and glee and like childlike beauty comes through, your innocence and purity and such good-heartedness. Such a good man. You're such a good man. One last question here. Deborah says, to remain thoughtless and present, do we have to meditate 24/7?
Oh my gosh. Being my favorite topic, I couldn't love that question more. So when I began a presence practice, Deborah, I wasn't a meditator. I was well aware of it. I knew it was beneficial, all the same things, but I wasn't attracted to it, and it didn't fit. I didn't think it fit into my life. I just was not a person all the way up until 46 years old I had done it a few times, who would sit on a mat for 20 minutes or even 30 minutes or let alone 60 minutes and try and quiet my mind. I had done it a handful of times, and it wasn't bad, but it didn't, just like yoga, it didn't mean I was going back every day. Presence practice is the same tool as meditation. It really is, because we know that both are saying, can I quiet my mind? From my experience, presence practice is for some people far more than meditation, because it has incredible benefits too, because it's saying, can I quiet my mind for one breath? Can I do that 3 times a day? Can I do that more and more often through my day? Can I do that an astounding 5 times a day? Like maybe I catch myself once in the morning while I'm showering and I become present for 1 or 2 breaths. And then maybe I remember and wake up out of a trance, because every time you become present, it means you are waking up out of a sleepness. You were asleep to a fiction, a past, a daydream, or futures. That's why it's called waking up. You wake up and go, oh, I was asleep in a fiction. And I will be present to my breath for maybe only 2 breaths. The achievement of that 5 times a day will produce incredible miracles in your life. And then the only other characteristic I notice about it that's different than meditation, because it's done in short, it's the striving for short increments throughout the day, is that I'm present with my eyes open. And meditation seems to be done with your eyes closed. And I am not present under special circumstances, like I'm on my mat, my room is quiet. I am present whenever and wherever I remember to be present. So I love being present in a crowded, loud room. I love deepening my presence when something, quote, annoying, like a car alarm is going off. It's a signal for be present. Whereas meditation would say, can I really meditate out here in the middle of a festival with car alarms going off? So no, and you don't have to be present. I hope that answers. You don't have to be present 24/7 a day. You'll desire to be, but because presence, each moment of presence is so delicious, and it comes with such a trail-off effect, a long tail. But I am not present 24/7. I keep falling asleep all day, but I keep waking myself up all day. As Jim Carrey said, my life seems to be about riding the reset button. I just ride that reset button all day. Fell asleep, wake up. Right. Fell asleep, wake up.
Yeah.
Everybody, hopefully everybody notices when they end this, like, oh, wow, I fell asleep while I was doing dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I just fell asleep while I said I was going to watch the sunset. Oh, I just fell asleep while I was walking to my room.
You mean not being present, falling asleep, like being a bit unconscious?
Falling asleep, right? Falling asleep to a hallucinate. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I love the term because if being present is to be awakened, an awakened consciousness, then the opposite is to be asleep. Asleep for what? Why? And I love it. Why would they call it asleep? Why did the Native Americans call it asleep?
Yeah.
Why did the Achuar Indians in Central America say we have to change the dream of the Western world?
Yeah.
They're having a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because reality is friendly. Our hallucinations that we fall into all day long are not. They're terrifying. They're anxiety inducing. They're stress inducing. They're fear inducing.
Yeah.
And we're asleep while we're having them. We're asleep to real life.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know when you're an awakened being? While you're awake.
Yeah.
So anybody in this holy instant right now that says, I am awake to this moment. I am fully present to this moment. You're an awakened being. The only question after that is, how often would you like to be an awakened being? My answer is far more often.
Yeah. As much as possible.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Sounds like the best medicine ever.
Okay, I'm sorry. I keep talking.
Yeah. No. Thank you so much, Patrick. So much wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tassel. And most of all, thank you so much, Veronica, Crystal, Jana, Stephanie.
Yes. Thank you for
Miro,
all the
Chris,
beautiful
Deborah.
people. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. This was another epic
Mary.
day. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Patrick. I'm just so honored to be here with everyone and to be having these amazing conversations about things that are really helpful and important in our lives.